Hey everyone, welcome to the Last Movie Run podcast. I'm your host Josh Gilliam. I'm joined as always by my co-host Alex Cantor.
Hey guys.
All right, this week we're going to talk about Formula One, the movie with Brad Pitt that's just come into theaters this past Friday. He can't get over the fact I'm saying theaters. Over across the pond, they call them show hops.
Yeah, that's exactly what they call
Yeah, you and I both went and saw Formula One, the movie this weekend, starring Brad Pitt. Bradley Pitt. What'd you think of the movie?
it. Honestly, I really liked it. I wasn't sure what I'd think of it. Cheesy, and I think it was, but I think they leaned into it, and so I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Um, I thought it was really good. Let's get into it because I think everyone else thinks it's really good too. Um, Alex, what do you think the story of this was? Actually, I will address this real quick. We've been gone for a while for no reason. We just stopped for a minute. We went on a bit of a hiatus, but it's fine. We're back now. We're back and we're good. And uh, I'm a Formula One the movie.
Can you ask me a different question? I'm not ready to talk about that.
The story?
Well, I don't know. What would you say the story is? And I'll copy what you said, and then you can cut it in. That'll sound really good.
So I honestly will do a bit of a non-spoiler review up top before transitioning into the ending of the movie. So I really enjoyed this. This is about Brad Pitt. He's a former Formula One driver who was injured in an accident like in his youth. Like I think he looks like he's in his 20s there. Um, and he comes back later on as his former co-driver because Formula One is split into teams, two drivers per team. Um, and his former driver now owns this team Apex, which is a completely made up team. They made it up for the movie Apex GP, and he's like the bottom rung. They need a win, or else he just completely loses the team.
Yeah,
Like,
350 million in the hole or whatever, which
yeah,
I think is also how much it cost to make the movie, coincidentally.
yeah. I think this movie was fun for the both of us because we both like Formula One.
Mm-hmm.
I know I took my brother to see this, and he walked out there. He was like, I mean, it was a good movie, but I don't know what happened. Like at the
Really?
very end,
Because I thought they simplified a lot of things
I did too.
in order
Like
to, yeah,
a lot of it is very like race. Like
yes,
here you go. We've drawn it out, but he's like, there's part of the ending is like there's technicalities involved, and he's like, yeah, I didn't understand what the hell happened. I know that just at some point something happens and we're still racing.
yeah. I guess that makes sense. I was
But
thinking more of how like they make a well, we're not talking about spoilers, but they skipped certain elements of a race weekend.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I get what you're saying as well. They had like the penalties and the technicalities was a big portion of it, and
hmm
as was different strategies. I guess I'm yeah. So
yeah,
I can see how it was might have find a balance because you have people who are like diehard fans, people who are sort of fans, like maybe you and me, and people who have are movie fans but not Formula One fans. So it's like, how do you find a
yeah.
balance between those three things? Which I think they made a
I
pretty
think they did
decent
a
attempt at. Yeah,
bang up job at that actually, because a lot of this is character driven instead of like we really lean into the whole 2 hour race
yeah,
um and I think they made a good choice not it's the Formula One movie, but it's not overbearingly the Formula One season because the season is long. It's 18 races.
yeah.
But they jump into it halfway through. We start at the ninth race. They've just lost, and that's when they bring Brad Pitt's character Sonny Hayes into Apex GP. He has some really good chemistry with his co-driver Joshua Pierce, played by
Is this where,
mhm,
well, like the big pause?
Damson
Where
Idris. Yeah,
do you want
Damson
to say that again?
Idris.
Because I think I was talking in the middle of you
No,
saying
I'll just
no.
cut you out. Um, yeah, and there's also a She's like the aerodynamics engineer for Apex. Kate. Kate. It says her name's Kate McKenna on Google. I don't think her last name is once brought up.
No, I remember watching in the first bit where they're doing like this person played by this person. Wait, this is where I look up someone. Are you editing this one out for me as well?
I will.
The character played by Javier Bardem. Well, now that I'm looking it up, it says he plays Ruben Cervantes, but I swear in the movie it just says like Ruben played by Javier Bardem. Like I don't think it gave us his last name.
You think Google just makes this stuff up?
Yeah, you're right. It's like Google AI.
Yeah, Carrie Condon, not Corden, no relation to James Corden. Carrie Condon plays Kate, who's the aerodynamics engineer for Apex, and then Javier Bardem plays Ruben, who's the guy who's in an insane amount of debt to own this really shit team. Also, quick note on the cast: the top build Formula One driver in this is Lewis Hamilton.
I think he I was reading that he helped out Brad Pitt with the training. Like there's some scenes where Brad Pitt is actually driving it. They had like a Formula 2 car, I think.
Yeah.
There were like scenes where he was driving. So I think even though there were a couple of scenes in the movie, I guess, I think Lewis Hamilton was the driver I saw the most. Or like he was like actually, or he looked at Brad Pitt or something like that. Or Sonny Hayes. But I think he also helped out a lot in the production of it with sort of behind the scenes.
Interesting. Yeah, I think a couple Formula One drivers did, because Max Verstappen and Lando Norris are also given like some top billing.
Oh, okay.
On this. Now, I know you are a Lando Norris fan, yes?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Despite all the hate he's been getting recently.
So he has been getting a lot of hate. I like Max Verstappen.
Okay.
And I hate Lewis Hamilton. So
really?
I don't know if we've ever talked about that. I do not like Lewis Hamilton.
My dad is a huge Lewis.
Really?
Apparently, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Apparently, Max Verstappen's a really nice guy. I've heard.
Yes,
a friend of a friend of mine.
I've heard Lewis Hamilton is not a nice guy.
Really? I've not.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what's funny? Because you like Lewis Hamilton, don't you?
Well,
not your favorite, but
I think he's a cool guy.
Yeah, but your dad likes him. I don't like him because my dad doesn't like him.
Really? Okay, yeah. I see.
We're influenced. But yeah, there's some good casting in this. I mean, Callie Cook is a character, Jody. She's like the mechanic who slowly becomes good at her job.
Besides Javier Bardem and Brad Pitt, I don't think there were any actors that I'd seen before in anything else. Or maybe they played side characters and other stuff. I don't know. I thought there were a lot of really good performances by side characters who were maybe, I don't know if the guy who plays Joshua Pierce is in something else, but side performances.
Stuff,
by people who are really good who I don't think are as big actors, as say Brad Pitt.
Damson Idris, who plays Joshua Pierce, or JP as he does not like to be called by Brad Pitt. He was in Snowfall, which was kind of a big FX drama for a couple years. It was about a scam. And what else has he been in? He's been in a lot of military things. But yeah, this is kind of his big thing. He's about to become big off of this. Maybe. But yeah, I like the cast in this. I thought they all did a really good job. This was a good movie.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was, like you were saying before, it's a difficult thing to balance all those factors. You've got such a range of different fans of the non-fans of the sport, fans of movies going to see it. And also it, to watch F1, well, especially if you're watching the whole weekend, right? You're watching practice and qualifying and the actual race. But even just the race alone is like something like 2 hours. So they had to sort of simplify that while trying not to integrity of what you're watching and make fans of the sport feel like it's too simple.
Yeah.
So I think there are a lot of different factors they were juggling. They also had like romance subplots and all this other stuff that, I think they did
Yeah.
I think they did a good job. I do think it was, there are a lot of cliche, bit of a cheesy movie,
Yeah.
action, driving, racing, or whatever. But I think because they leaned into it and they knew what they were making, they knew what it was. That made it good. I wasn't like, peak cinema, but I was like, this is a fun
Mm.
time. I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah. So, like you said, for those who don't know Formula One, this is the one time in the last movie run where we're actually going to get to talk about some sort of sport. Because you and I both like sports, but we're doing a movie podcast. In Formula One, Friday is typically like everyone gets there and we do like practice runs. Saturday morning, we're going to do like our qualifying race just to kind of see where we're starting on the grid. Depending on who won the last race, may determine who's front of the pack. And um, Sunday is race day.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so they sort of, I guess I don't think it's much of a spoiler to say that they sort of simplified down, skipped some elements of a typical race
no.
weekend. But the only other thing I'll say is that, there's more to say about it, but I think that a lot of what happened in the movie probably certainly would not have happened. It was, it's a
Yeah.
fictionalized version of how F1
Correct.
works.
Yeah.
I don't think that because they knew that and because they leaned into it away from the movie at all, and it made it fun.
No, I thought this was a really good fun movie. I do think, like you said, they definitely stripped down the Formula One. If you want like a in-depth look at Formula One, there's a Netflix show called Formula One Drive to Survive.
That's
Go
good.
watch that because you're not going to get it here. Like we see some practice, but it's like the team practice, not the actual event practice.
Mm-hmm.
When we go to the race, we jump into like lap 20 of
Yeah,
like
and then the last few laps.
Monaco, and
Yeah,
then we don't see the full thing.
But if you are, you don't even have to be a fan of the sport. If you think you're gonna like a action, romance, racing, driving movie, cowboy, Sunny Hayes, with his combat strategies,
Yeah,
I think you don't have to be a Formula One fan and need to know all about the different tires and the way that racing works to enjoy it. So I
yeah.
did a good job of that.
Before we get into like the overview of this and the in-depth spoiler review, so how many
Is this a show of hands?
out of three formulas, Formula One being the best, what would you rate this movie?
3 formulas? I think it's a high 2.
Okay. Think this only hits Formula 2 for a Formula One movie?
I think you're pole position Formula 2.
I think this was Formula One out of Formula 3.
Okay.
Because you know what? I don't think they could have done a Formula One movie better.
Okay. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying now that you say that. I don't think they could have done for Formula 3.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Formula 1.
Yeah.
You're messing me
Formula
up because
3.
you can't ask me to give it 3 stars and then ask me to give it a Formula 1.
Well, Formula One is 3 stars. It's the inverse.
I know. You're flipping me around.
You
But yeah,
think boy.
I think as a movie, I think it was a high Formula 2. But you're right. I think there would be a Formula 1 movie. Unless, without going too far into the technically this is how Formula 1 works, or going too far into the
I think they struck a perfect balance. All right. Let's get into some spoilers and like in-depth talk about what actually happened in this movie. Because I sat in the theater as always and took notes. There was one point the screen went like completely black for a minute, just in a really weird like scene transition where he's raising his helmet up, but it's black. I don't know if you remember it. My phone screen brightness was all the way up in the theater, and suddenly it's pitch black.
Really?
I just like
I wasn't taking notes, but my phone did drop out of my floor really, really loudly. It was, and I was like,
great.
I can feel everyone behind me staring at me. Ugh, horrible experience.
I was in a very empty theater because
really,
my brother and I went at 11 a.m.
Okay.
We saw it in Dolby, which was like ass-shattering loud when like the cars rolled by, and it was. I really enjoyed it. We got like center seats in the theater, so it was like perfect Dolby. It was really good. But yeah, this follows Brad Pitt's Sonny Hayes. We first see him. He's running the 24-hour Daytona marathon, and he just immediately comes in. We know Sonny Hayes is the best because the driver before him sucks, and he just suddenly comes in and fucks everyone and just immediately jumps into first place at Daytona.
There's like from the get go in the first scene. There's like fireworks exploding on the track, which I was like, I don't.
Yeah.
This is again. I was like sort of suspending my disbelief because I was looking.
Hmm.
I don't think if someone watches, at midnight the 24-hour Daytona race and fireworks are falling on the track, please correct me. But I don't know if that happens. Is that a safety hazard?
I don't think it. I do not think they fall into the cars. Like
Okay,
I could tell
that's
you
certainly
that.
what's happened in the movie.
I
Hey,
know
it made
they.
it fun. I was like, oh
It
shit.
did. Yeah. Um. I also think that he overtakes someone during the Daytona,
Hmm.
and when he gets out of the car at the end, the guy pits, and of course they're in
Oh yeah,
the
he
lanes
tries
right
to
next
come
to each
fight him,
other.
doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he comes to fight him, and it pans down, and Brad Pitt's holding this wrench.
Oh yeah.
He was ready to kill that BMW
Yes.
driver with the
Yeah, he
wrench.
was. He was. Like what?
He
Um,
uses
I
at
think
this
they're
point.
just trying. They're trying to make him seem like really badass from the get go,
Mm,
but at the same time, and I don't watch any NASCAR, any races in the states, but uh, I do think racing is a bit more nuanced than you can just put a new driver in and he's going to go from like whatever it was seventh or ninth place to first place just
absolutely.
like that.
Yeah.
They're like that. It's far more complicated than that. You can have the best driver in the world and not the car, vice versa. And you can have the best driver card and the best car, and they can't in whatever that was, 2 laps, even with fireworks on the track. That's first. But it can't, it was a strong start. I was like, oh, okay, this guy's really badass. I'm enjoying it. If you're along for the ride, and the movie knows that, this isn't actually
Yeah.
how it's going to work. And because you embrace it, you in the audience can also lean to it and embrace it, and that makes it fun.
Yeah.
I was like,
I
hell yeah, he's
think.
holding a wrench and he was ready to kill a guy on like national television.
Yeah.
Um, was he? Would I actually have a no? But because you can sort of be like, yeah, okay, sure, cowboy Brad Pitt, Sunny Hayes, headphone,
Um.
van, and wins the race and gets back into his van and drives into the sunset. It feels cool.
The headphones. Those are Apple. Those are Apple AirPod Pro Max headphones he wears for like the first half of the movie. This
Really?
is,
I didn't
and I
notice.
didn't realize that till the like credits were rolling. This is an Apple film.
Oh, they had like 4 or 5 different studios or something made this at the very beginning. There's loads of different logos.
Yeah, but this is like where like it's a Universal movie. It's a Warner Brothers movie. This is an Apple
Really?
movie. So they've made a couple things. Um, this is their biggest success.
Wow. Okay, good for them.
So I don't think I mentioned it during the non-spoiler part, but this did over the opening weekend make $140 million. 153 at bat, like by the time we're recording this. Although it did allegedly cost like between $200 to $300 million to make. But I think this is going to go places off of word of mouth.
Mm-hmm. I agree. We are
This
the
is
word
really
of
good.
mouth.
Yes, we're the
We
main
are
source.
helping Apple make money.
I
And
love
that's all
helping
that really matters to
corporations.
me as the shareholders.
Speaking of shareholders, Javier Bardem's character in this is absolutely like bent over by these shareholders throughout this whole
Yeah.
movie.
Also, I mean, we're skipping way ahead. We're probably going to go chronologically through these spoilers. But like by the end, they were doing really well. They were getting like
Yeah.
P2, P5 with like, they said themselves, shitbox of a car.
Hmm.
Or I'll be like, wow, within the season they brought it back up. But, I guess they needed to get first place to actually, yeah, we can talk about that in the spoiler as well. There's some sort of plot devices that they threw in that felt a bit
Yeah.
janky.
Well, let's
But
start here. Javier Bardem finds Brad Pitt in like a laundromat. And he's like, "You want to come drive for me?" And he's like, "I don't know about all that." And he's like, "Well, hey, you could be the best."
uh-huh.
And then he goes to the practice. The soundtrack for this is really good. They play a song that's like "Not as Bad as I Used to Be" while he's driving the test run. And he's like, "Oh, just put me against JP's times, and if I
Yeah,
can't be within a second of them, I'll leave." And he fucks that drive up so bad, but he's still the driver. So how bad are JP's times that
yeah, that
Brad
he
Pitt
keeps
could
hitting all
like
his corners. Yeah, yeah.
Brad Pitt spun out twice and like destroyed the car, and they were still like, actually, he ran better than him.
Yeah, he did. He locked up and spun out, didn't he? And he was still
Yeah,
able to be within a second, even though he crashed the car at the end. I
yeah,
mean, he's close enough to the finish line, I guess.
yeah. And everyone's like, oh well, he's this amazing talent. He's gonna be the best. Yeah, but he spun out at the end and he beat your guy. Like, is he that good?
Yeah.
um. Also, his first race doesn't go well. Once he is the apex driver 2 position, and during the interview afterwards, because like all sports, they sit down and interview the drivers afterwards. I don't know if you noticed this, but it was so like apparent to me. I had to make a note of it. During that initial interview, JP is dressed like very like casually, but Brad Pitt beats him. He's wearing like a button down, but the button is like here. It's like the highest he has a button. I wrote down showing an insane amount of chest at the press conference because it's like
Yeah.
it's like Superman pulling his shirt apart. Also Javier Bardem, there's only one shareholder we're really introduced to throughout
Yeah.
this.
Well, that's what I mentioned before. I mean, that's pushing
Yeah.
way later on to the movie. So you can, but I think that what happened was they were like, okay, sort of like, the natural arc of the movie is, and you have other stuff going on, but it's like they suck. Brad Pitt comes in, but despite some initial challenges, they start doing better.
Yeah.
And then they start doing a lot better. Like JP gets into the accident, whatever. Sonny Hayes starts doing, and they're getting like P5. They're like in the top 10 consistently. It's going really well. And what I felt like what happened was the writers were like, shit. And so then afterwards, catastrophic failure. How are they ever going to come back? End of the movie, they come back, save the day, win first place.
Yeah.
I think what happened was towards the top, they're doing really well. The writers were like, shit, how do we like make them have catastrophic failure so that they can come back up at the end and win? And they're like, we need to have a villain, the bad guy, the shareholder. So they throw this guy in there who is their villain, sneaking around, forging documents, making offers, wants them to lose. That sort of felt tossed in there in order to give the audience someone to not like and to give the impetus for they're doing well. And then their shareholders would probably be happy with this and keep moving around. Let's throw someone in there to crash and burn it. Yeah. So that sort of felt a bit contrived. But again, if you're along for the ride and you lean into it, I enjoyed it all the same. But that was one part I was like, I could see why he was there. I don't know what, how else you do it differently. That's the case of the writer's room. But
yeah, he's there because he needs to he wants to sell off the team and they can't sell it off if they win a race, and he's like, oh shit, Brad Pitt's actually kind of fucking killing it right now. Because he's like, really, they have a really bad first race. Like Brad Pitt's like, oh, I'm here to win, I'm not here to play as a team. Right after that race, he's somewhere in that between race 10 and 11 immediately learns the power of teamwork and friendship, because starting at the next one, he's like, oh, well, I'm gonna take the hit and he's gonna like launch into the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, 3 safety cars in one race, crazy,
insane, actually. Yeah,
would not happen without like 10 years of penalties, but it was fun to watch.
Yeah, it just keeps clipping the wing, and at one point they're like, you won, but you cost the car like $10 million worth of damage.
Yeah.
And Brad Pitt immediately like disregards everything his leaders are saying, and he's like, no, I'm the captain.
Yeah, he starts calling the shots in the car.
Yeah, and during one of the races, JP like ignores one and his car flips, like catches on fire, and so he's out, and then there's like a rivalry. And
I like the way they pitted that sort of old school, more mature Sonny Hayes versus social media, focus on his brand, isn't doing it for the racing. There's a line where he's like, oh, I'm in it for the money and the
Yeah.
Then, unsurprisingly, by the end of the movie, he's like, "Oh, I'm in it for the racing as well," or to that
Yeah.
extent.
For the love of
Um,
the game.
yeah, I mean, I
Um,
wasn't, surprised. Like, it was like I said, I think it was a sort of predictable arc.
hmm,
Um, Plot twist of it being the guy who leaked the documents. That was like a sort of lukewarm twist. I was like, yeah, okay. I don't know
yeah.
who you are, but you're just some faceless shareholder person.
Hmm,
And like I said, that sort of immature money fame to caring about the racing. But you can still enjoy all that, even though you know what's coming.
yeah.
It doesn't have to be some crazy mind blowing twist in the parking lot about the hospital. You can be like, okay, sure. I'm
Hmm,
still, there's some cool action sequences, and I'm still having fun. If you lean into the fact that it's a cheesy, racy action movie, and you can have fun with it, watching it,
yeah.
and they had fun making it. Or
Yeah. Looks like they had a lot of fun making it.
yeah,
It's shot really well,
I thought
and
so too. Yeah, for sure.
I thought the characters were fun. Yeah, I'm want to wrap it up if you are. I have a couple things that I've taken notes on that I want to list real quick. The corporate guy who eventually is like sabotaging them. His first thing, his first introduction is I don't know anything about Formula One. I learned everything I know from watching the Netflix show Drive to Survive.
I thought it was fun. I like that they included a
Hmm.
character like that.
Yeah,
It's like I didn't know this much about tires until 6 months ago, whatever the line was. I thought it was funny.
I don't know why, but I really didn't expect actual F1 drivers to show up. Like Max Verstappen, I think is the first one I notice,
Uh-huh.
and I'm like, oh my god, he's here! Like during the Pledge of Allegiance, or like they're singing the anthems, and um,
I
JP has a.
remember this is like totally, we're not, this is
Now go ahead.
the movie itself, but in last year, so in 2024, I went to Silverstone to qualifying,
Very cool. Yeah.
and there was some announcement where they're like, I think at the time they're filming some scenes for it, so they had a bunch of people. They're like, if you're in these stands, you know, you're gonna hold up these. I wasn't over in that portion of the track. Like hold up these pictures of his face or whatever, and like
Oh,
go
that's
crazy
awesome.
when he drives
You were
by.
there.
Yeah, I was like, the track is like, miles long. I was not at that portion. But yeah, I thought it was cool.
That's crazy. Oh, JP has a manager in this. His manager character sucks. He really needs to get a new PR manager guy.
Oh,
He
separate. Yeah, also, I was like unclear on JP's financial situation. Like, yeah, they were trying to have a line between he makes a shit ton of money because he's a Formula One driver, but also they didn't want to make him seem like a rich asshole. So
Mhm.
he wears really nice clothes. He had a really nice house, but they're like right next to the train tracks, which I felt was them
Yeah,
being like, he's,
he's just a kid.
he's just a kid. He came up from the bottom, even though he's, has probably millions of dollars worth of salary every year, or
Yeah.
something like that. For sure, yeah.
Um Randomly in this for like literally 3 seconds there's a Chris and Liam Hemsworth cameo. I don't know if you
Yes,
noticed
there. Yeah,
that.
I did see that. I had whiplash. I was like, huh?
Yeah, I did too. I'm looking at my brother. I'm like, what? Why are they doing that? They were just in the stands for fun. When Brad Pitt finally wins at the end of the race, which we didn't really touch on, Pierce is gonna win. Then his car messes up, and he's like, okay, well, Brad Pitt's gonna win. And they win through the power of friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Everyone up there with Brad Pitt has won tons of races, so this is just another. It's just another Sunday for them while Brad Pitt is up on stage tweaking with Javier Bardem with
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
champagne
Going crazy.
bottles. And that's it. Yeah.
I enjoyed the movie. Everyone listening should go see it if you haven't already.
Yeah.
And if you disagree with me or Josh, then
Don't let us
don't
know.
let
We'll
us know.
cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, let us know what you think of this. Was it good? Was it bad? I don't know. How many Formula Ones do you rate this? Um, if you like this podcast and you want more, then check out this podcast and our others, Trading Paperback, at Fourth Dimension Broadcasting on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We'll be back in 2 weeks to cover Superman.
I'm
So
excited.
that'll be fun. I'll enjoy that. Until then, we'll see you. Bye.